All right. We have a quorum, so you lose. And I will start off with the land acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge the ancestral, cultural, traditional, and unceded territory of the Shoshone, Bannock, and original Paiute people on which we are meeting today. And the next thing, I move to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
Seconded.
All right. It's funny, I can't see them. I don't have my glasses on.
I'm gonna get closer.
That's good. So Commissioner Tom has seconded it. And the motion passes. The meeting minutes from.
You have to vote.
Oh. I always do that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. June's meeting minutes. And we will move right into the direct.
Excellent.
Where do you want here? Where do you want?
Where I want the people. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the commission. It's good to see you all. It's been a while. And I owe you some updates on a few things. So I'm actually gonna go a little out of order here. That's okay. Because I think the most important thing to update you on right off the bat, this last thing that we've sort of spent a lot of time talking about is the commission and some of the recommendations that I made and that I've, the input of you. So we are still working with the mayor's office to finalize a few things. There are some parts of it that are sort of set in stone at this point, meaning not really set in stone, but we've identified the path forward on a few key points. So the first is that the commission will, as it is right now, as it's written in the ordinance, remain advisory in nature. There was a request from all of you to provide annual opportunities at the beginning of the year that would allow you to sort of look at the full schedule for the year and know when and what opportunities were coming forward so that you could plan your own schedules accordingly. One of the things that we talked about when we interviewed all of you is that we've had a little bit of difficulty getting commitments from commissioners for the selection panels in particular, because they can be a pretty big length, and when they all come at once and you don't know they're coming, it's hard for you and your schedules to make sure that those are that you can accommodate them. So we'll be doing that. You'll be getting that in February. I'll talk about a few of those today, but then get a full schedule out to you in February or in anticipation of the February meeting. We are also going to be clearly outlining the commissioner role, meaning setting those sort of expectations clearly moving forward so that, again, there's no surprises and people sort of know what they're getting into when they sign up. The commission size is going to remain the same, and that's a bit of a change from one of the last memos that I think I sent you a few months ago. Having looked at the composition of commissions across the city, we would be very much an outlier if we were to go to a commission size of 15. So all the other commissions in the city are 8. And so it's still a negotiation as to whether or not we're going to stay with the 7 that we have right now or going to move to 8. But to accommodate some of the bodies that we would like, the volunteer opportunities that we want to sort of give to residents in the community, what we're going to do is restart the arts and history. We're calling it the arts and history advocacy team instead of the advisory team this time around. And so I'm I'm gonna talk a little bit about that in a few minutes when it relates to hiring, so I'll go back a couple slides. But we are gonna get that started back up. I'm hoping that we will have a body of people to serve those roles by late spring, because that's gonna be feeding into the America 250, and we're gonna need a lot of bodies. For the sesquicentennial, back when Boise celebrated its 150th anniversary, we had a huge group of volunteers that helped us execute on all the programming that was happening. And so the goal with bringing AHAT back together is, number one, to accommodate some of the things that we've been talking about as staff and commissioners, but then also as we move into this pretty significant celebration that the city is going to be having, we want to make sure that the residents of the community have the opportunity to serve in that city as well and be involved.
And can I say,
Please.
very quickly,
Yes.
it's also a great feeder as commissioners. That's how I came up. So I'm glad to see it come.
And then the one really key thing that we're not sure about yet, and that I have another meeting on the agenda with the mayor, I think early in the new year, is to talk about whether or not to set project approval levels with the commission. So whether, and that's one of the things that's the most fuzzy right now, is whether or not we as a staff are required to bring projects to the commission for approval prior to them going to council. If so, when do we do that? Is it a monetary level? Is it some other criteria? That is not set yet, and we're still talking with the mayor about how she wants to proceed with that. So stay tuned, but we have made some progress. And we will continue holding bi-monthly meetings, and hopefully, I have a feeling in these next couple weeks we're going to talk about. So hopefully we'll have a forum, and I think we'll have plenty of opportunities for you all to join us. So any questions from anybody online or anybody in the room about that particular update?
Jennifer, did you say we're talking more about AHAT later, or should we ask questions about that now?
Go ahead and ask questions about it now.
I just want to know what kind of help you need from us to get that started. I feel like we've talked about bringing it back multiple times, and I wasn't really sure if that was a responsibility of the commission to put together and to really lead, or if you all are going to do that independently of us.
So the only thing I was going to bring up on another slide is that is related to our hiring. And we now have written into a job description that we're hiring for in January that it is going to be a staff person's responsibility, one particular staff person, to manage all of our volunteers and interns. And so it is not going to fall on any of you to manage either bringing those people in or managing them as a group of people. That's going to be on staff. I imagine there's going to be a lot of interaction between the commissioners and the AHAT, because of the fact that we've got a couple of really big things coming up. The Depot 100 is coming up in April, which is, I'm hoping to have at least some of the volunteers on the ground just to come join us for that, even if it hasn't formally kicked off as a group yet by then. But then as we move into the America 250 stuff, there's going to be a lot of interaction, but no responsibility, Melissa, for the commission to any lift on that.
Okay.
I think
Will Jennifer be like putting out calls for people who are interested, or will you like that we could amplify or recommend to people, or do you already like have a list of folks in mind?
That's a really good question. So the first thing that I had planned to do to get started was to contact the people who were on the committee when COVID hit. So that's the very first thing. We actually have great documentation on our systems of all those people. And in fact, I was just on a call with somebody, a history teacher at North Junior High the other day, and she was like, and when I was on AHAT, and I was like, I did see your name on the AHAT list. So we're going to start there, Melissa, but I do think we're going to put a call out, and we will definitely want the commission to help recruit for that for sure.
Perfect.
But I'm going to allow the person we're hiring to sort of drive that in a way that makes sense to them. And so sort of like a stay tuned.
Okay, awesome.
Cool. Chris,
they did take us through a very comprehensive training program. So I do still have the training manual that they gave us. if you don't have it.
We do.
But.
Isn't that awesome? A lot of it's outdated, because the department has changed quite a bit and we've acquired new sites and all sorts of things. But the fact that there's like, I mean, we have a hard copy, it's like a pretty good binder, we have the soft copies with the digital stuff, so yeah, we're in good shape. Any other questions on that? Okay, so with that, I'll go back a couple slides. I wanted to announce, in case you all didn't already know this, we did secure a $100,000 grant from the National Trust for Historic Preservation, African American Cultural Heritage Fund. It's a 2-year grant, so each year we get $50,000, and City Council and Mayor were kind enough to adjust our budget just enough to cover the delta between the grant amount and the amount we needed to make this a full-time position. So we do have a grant-funded position, temporary, it's 2 years, posted right now. We would love your help in recruiting for that. We really are looking for somebody who is going to be a great public-facing person who can help us build relationships with the communities we're trying to serve with the Irma Haven House, and who will work well with Tanisha to do the programming that we're hoping to do to drive visitorship. That's really the key thing here. So that's really exciting. The other two things, you know, of course, that we've been without a history programs manager since August. And we did run a search for a replacement for that position, and unfortunately it was a failed search. And so we kind of went back to the drawing board and looked nationally at what is more typical when you look at what cities, the very few cities that have this type of position, they call it a city. So that's something that's a little more accepted in the professional field, and we hope we're going to be getting some different kinds of candidates who understand a little bit better what that means than history programs. So that's finally gone through the sort of system that it has to go through at the city. That will be getting posted, we hope, in early 2025, so hopefully early in January. And then in addition to that, we're proposing some changes to Jennifer Weibar's team, so the communications and outreach team. And so the grant person will still be somebody that's on our team already. And then we've merged public programs and education. And the reason I brought this up earlier about AHAT is because it's this position that's going to be managing our volunteer corps. I was very happy to have the opportunity to speak with Commissioner Miller not too long ago about putting together a docent group as well. And we're hoping that some of this AHAT team will become part of the docent group, and that will also fall under this particular person's job. So, any questions on that?
Hand raised.
Oh,
Amanda.
Commissioner.
I'm just curious who wrote the grant for the Irma Haven House.
I did.
You did. Well done, Jen. That's a big, very big deal. And I think I just wanted to say thank you for writing the grant, and also to everyone, both in your department, but in the community that also like had a hand in like making that Irma Haven House this absolutely wonderful place that it is in so many different kinds of ways. Like, and I know when I came to that event, I don't even remember what it was anymore. Is it 2023? I honestly, time means nothing to me right now, but that you had the opening with the exhibition and the gallery. Anybody?
Yeah.
Like maybe I mean,
Perhaps.
and that was like an incredibly special event, and I appreciated getting to meet all the people that had been so involved in like lifting that Irma Haven House, and the people in the community and the neighborhood and so on. And so I just think this is like just another wonderful step in supporting and recognizing the value of that place. So thanks to everybody, including your cultural sites team.
Yes, indeed. And I should say, even though Commissioner Fishwalker isn't here, she actually wrote a letter on behalf of the city for that grant. So she is a supporter of that. So thank you,
She's
Commissioner
here.
Ashley.
She's here.
She's online.
She is?
She is.
Oh, there she is.
I just got on. I'm so sorry.
Perfect timing.
Yes.
Okay, so, I just wanted to, I alluded already a couple times to the America 250. So for those of you who are more in the art world than the history world, America is celebrating its 250th anniversary on July 4th, 2026. People have asked me that question, so.
Like, why is it
Uh-huh.
250th up?
Uh-huh, it's,
Okay,
yes, no, even they've asked me what year and when it's being celebrated.
okay,
Not everybody is,
that's fine.
you know. But we're gonna change that, because
Yeah.
people are gonna know what this is soon. So, there are some national themes that have been selected by a national committee. And, those are, unfinished revolutions, power of place, oh gosh. Should have put them on the slide. Unfinished revolution, power of place. Forgetting all of them right now. But we will begin to really dive into how to bring those national. I think I see that Councilwoman Willis is probably going to Google this for us on the fly. And then I'm gonna be like, I know what they are. I just can't do it on the fly.
Well, here's what AI says.
Okay.
Our place, we the people, democracy and justice, unfinished revolutions, American experiment in doing history.
Doing history, that one you said about democracy and justice is not one of the 5 initial ones. The other ones are though. Yeah, AI sort of got it right. But the other ones are correct, so doing history and we the people. And so we're trying to, so there's one missing still.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm still looking.
okay.
AI was wrong.
So we are beginning to put together a list of pretty extensive programming. And I reached out to both Commissioner Ashley as well as Commissioner Miller to kind of for the higher ed connections that we're gonna have. And we are going to kick off some smaller group committees starting in the new year. We, the Department of Arts and History, have been asked by the mayor to lead this effort. But it would be silly and egotistical and wrong for us to like sort of do this whole thing without community involvement, right? We need the community to tell us what they want to celebrate and how they want to participate. So gradually, we're going to be having these smaller meetings as we put together a larger committee. The celebration will take place between July 4th, 2025 and July 4th, 2026. That's the plan.
Like soon.
Yeah, like in 6 months. Okay. But what that means is we may start calls for art at that time. We may start book clubs with library. We may start projects with our higher eds putting together exhibitions to display at libraries. We may do calls for art to have juried exhibitions at the Luminary, at Boise State, etc. So it's sort of the kickoff, and I think the majority of programming that people can go actually participate in is going to be between January and July, culminating on the actual anniversary. We have secured verbal confirmation from Boise Philharmonic to play at the July 4th celebration in 2026, which is super exciting. And this is really, the mayor has made it clear to staff and to leadership throughout the city that this is a full city push and that she wants the entire city blanketed for this period of the celebration with knowledge that this is happening and that there's a lot to celebrate and a lot of exciting things to look forward to in the future. So some of the possible local themes that we're looking at are resilience, belonging, renewal, representation. Power of place, particularly for our department, is an excellent sort of one of those 5 themes that we're excited to get behind, that we can do a lot of art and history behind, because Boise is very much about a very specific place. Also unfinished revolution. So we're thinking about kicking off It wouldn't culminate during the time period of the celebration, but we're considering and talking internally about kicking off a new Native American art piece to replace the piece of art that's currently in the library. And so that is something that we're talking about. That obviously takes a lot of intention and forethought and collaboration with the tribes. But that's one of the things we're thinking about, particularly as it relates to this concept of either we the people or Unfinished Revolutions. And I think there's a couple different pieces that.
Dr. Stevens,
Yes.
the state picked their themes, because as I'm Googling this, other states pick their themes.
The answer to that is no. And in fact, unfortunately, the state does not have. So if you look at the official website, there are 49, I think it's 49 territories and states that have formed official committees. And we are unfortunately not.
We are the one.
No, now that does not mean that we don't have people working on it, because the state that I know does have people working on it, but we unfortunately do not have
We don't have anything formal.
the official.
I'm changing that.
That would really be excellent. And I'd be happy to talk with you offline about ways that we might want to pursue that together.
I can talk to Hannah Laurie or Janet Elmore.
Yes,
Okay, because I know that they had a big,
they're doing a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're focused very much, and this is typical for the state of Idaho, they're very much focused on the rural communities, so they have a grant.
Right.
Yeah, and so a lot of they're not focused on Boise, which is typical for how that operates, so it's sort of our job to make sure that our city is, represented and that we do work so that Boise can celebrate. I do have a meeting set up with the head of the Chamber of Commerce coming up. It's actually gotten canceled a couple times, but it's been rescheduled. Thank you, Jillian. For I think soon. And so the hope is to bring the business community in as well and find ways for them to participate with us. So there's going to be, it's going to ramp up big time in January. And I do hope that I can get interest in multiple commissioners to join the celebration and help with that. So in whatever the capacity is that makes sense for you.
Okay, we have, Michigan, this is what Michigan says the 5 are. Unfinished Revolutions, Power of Place, We the People, American Experiment, and Doing History. They already have
So
hashtags.
they already have what?
They already have hashtags. Right.
Yeah. Hashtag.
Yeah, so it's, yeah. Hashtag right. Hashtag Unfinished Revolutions, Emma.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stay tuned. There'll be a much bigger update in February, and I will be meeting, like I said, with Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Ashley in January. Okay. I wanted to bring a couple of selection panel opportunities up to you that are going to be coming up in the interest of sort of planting these in your brain and letting you know that these are things we're going to need some representation from commissions on. So early in the new year, we will be kicking off 2 selection panels for new artworks for the airport. One of them, and actually, I'm happy to provide an updated slide for you. I actually just met with Stephanie right before this meeting, so there's a few little changes to the date here and how the panels are going to work, but there will be 2 opportunities at the airport in the first 5 months of the year. One is going to be the Conrack is the rental car facility that they're building right now at the airport, and there's going to be a massive 5-story mural thing that's going to be on the side of one of those walls, exterior walls. And then the other one is the airport got a grant from federal government for a new family restroom. Anybody who's flown through the Boise Airport knows that we have major restroom issues. And so that's really exciting, and it's a great opportunity for art on this wall. So we're going to be kicking that off. Both of those will be approximately 10 to 15 hour time commitment. So keep that in mind when you sign up. And then there's 2 additional projects coming up this spring, and those are both new public art projects. So Hannah Williamson, and then Savannah Shayon, who Savannah's at the airport and Hannah's at Public Works. Both of those are relatively new people to our team, because the enterprise funds have funded those, and so we have this, more capacity than we used to. And those two departments are funding this work through their separate funds. So for the Public Works, typically those works are environmentally focused on climate change messaging. So there's the water node, you might wonder what that is. So the Foothills Learning Center on 8th Street, the original master plan for the Foothills Learning Center was to have 4 nodes of art representing the 4 elements. And the water node has been missing all these years. So this is like a final execution of that last node. The location for that is going to be literally, have you guys all been to the Foothills Learning Center? So when you come up 8th Street, there's essentially a berm between the parking lot and 8th Street, and it's going to be right there. So the visibility is going to be awesome. You may recall that we had a survey just over the last couple of months that was tacked onto the park survey, and we got an immense amount of response from that survey related to how do people think about water in Treasure Valley. And so we're going to be taking that response from the community to write a call for art. It's going to be coming out this spring. And then the last thing is the asphalt art. So this is going to be new art that's going to be on the grain belt near the Warm Springs Golf Course. There was an incredible donor that provided money to build a new clubhouse at the Warm Springs Golf Course. And the Parks Department is asking us, and we are doing public art there. It's a great opportunity. It's a huge place where lots of people gather. So that's another thing that's going to be coming out. That particular one's going to be a really small and pretty quick turnaround. It has to be installed by June, if I understand correctly. So Stephanie intends to reach out specifically to a commissioner and ask. So she's going to do that one by invitation. So keep those in mind when Stephanie comes calling. I wanted to just let you know that our new January to March cultural program guide is out, and we'd like for you to pick one of those up and share widely. Almost out next week. Okay, so they'll be out in the lobby next week, and we'll send that out to you as well. Of course, we want you to attend grantee events. There's a list of those on the next slide. And then the other ones I've already talked about, so I'm going to repeat myself. So upcoming events, the Nutcracker starts this weekend. I'll be there on the 14th if anybody is interested in seeing me. Opera Idaho has their holiday choruses. The children's chorus is coming out on the 7th. We've got our new writer in residence just started. This is her second workshop that she'll be hosting. And that's going to be next Wednesday from 6 to 7:45 at, I'm totally forgetting right now. If anybody wants to know, I think it's at one of the libraries, but I can't remember which one. Backyard Artists is presenting, and then of course we have 2 of our cultural ambassador events coming up later this month. So hope you guys can support those. So with that, I will ask Councilwoman Willis if she has any final questions. I'm going to go over some of the stuff that I went over with council a few weeks ago, and I don't want Councilwoman Willis to repeat.
I did have a question on the position, going back.
Sure. Which the Heyman House or the education health program?
The third bullet, education. Is that something that we're using a FTE and reorganizing? Okay,
Correct. So there's no additional FTE at all. What we've done is we've actually switched some job descriptions and aligned it again, best practices nationwide. We had last year when we added the vacancy for grants position, we added public programming into that job description, and the person who was there was fantastic. On her way out, she took a job back at the State Museum, and she let us know that that was not a good marriage. And so we are just there's basically 4 areas. There's education, public programming, outreach, and grants. And instead of these 2 being together, now it's going to be these 2, if that makes sense. So it's now education, public programming, and grants and outreach, which makes a lot more sense in the professional world that these people operate in. So there's like this particular position, public programs and education manager. If you go online, you can type that in and
There's
that's
a lot. Yes, that's the nomenclature. Just one clarification on the advocacy committee, that seems to me that, that's like a super committee, that you're putting together people who can also feed up into commissioners, but also review, to volunteer, is that what you mean by advocacy?
They're not gonna be reviewing.
Okay, won't be reviewing.
No, they're not gonna be reviewed. This is really a volunteer court. And advocacy, because we're hoping that they'll be out in the community advocating for the work we do. And getting, right now, one of the big asks that we have in the commission is to attend our events, not just the stuff we put on, but our grantee as well. And our 7 commissioners don't have enough time to go to all of those. So the hope is that the committee can attend some of those for us, have name tags.
Sure.
Be there on behalf of, their committee and.
I like that idea a lot because I was just having a conversation with a friend that there's a lot going on in Boise, and it's sometimes, if you don't know where to look, it's actually overwhelming when you find out what's going on. So, and I think there's a lot of isolations. This would be good for people. I'm a little concerned with word advocacy, because to me, that means that puts in lobby, and that's a government. But ambassador or something like that, is like, I'm here because I love the arts. I want to be part of the arts, and I want you to love the arts. It's the same type of role, but we just talked about how different nomenclatures. Somebody's going to think that they're going to have to talk to a public official, and you might not get who you want.
Thank you.
Versus, I get to attend the events and know what's going on in the community and tell people how wonderful it is. That's a very different role.
It's great feedback. Thank you.
That's all the questions I have. It's exciting stuff. Yeah, I was just saying yesterday, I was like, this is the best committee ever. So that's good. Yeah. Get to do all of my things, so.
It's true.
Well, thank you, friends. I have to go pick up my husband.
That was recorded. It's okay, I don't think he's watching.
Thank you. Enjoy. Thanks for your service.
Just one thing about before we move on. Have any of you been to the Nutcracker in a Nutshell at the College of Idaho?
Years ago.
Okay. It's put on by Ballet Idaho, and it's an hour. And it's going to Caldwell, so I don't know if that counts as my role as commissioner for the city of Boise. I feel like I'm cheating a little bit, but it's so fantastic. And they do this really special festive tea party right after it, and it's put on by the college and the folks who run the Jewett Auditorium. And they have the ballerinas come out and they teach classes. And so like the little girls all get super dressed up and get face painted and have cocoa and take photos with the ballerinas. It's the cutest thing ever. If we could recreate it in Boise, they're killing it out there.
I took my girls to that, and it was great because it was just the right amount of attention span until they knew the story. And then they could sit through the whole thing. So nice, it's a nice little mini test. And then they got really excited and they wanted to know the entire thing. So yeah, thumbs up for that.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Jennifer?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? This is Trish.
Hi, Trish. Yeah, I can hear you.
So for the position for the, I think it was for the program coordinator at the Irma Heyman House.
Yeah.
If there's a letter of recommendation that I can send for an amazing individual that I know that is going to apply, would you like me to send that to Tanisha, to you, to Kristen, to who?
Send it to Kristen. That would be
Okay.
great.
Okay,
Yes.
I will.
Thank you. Send them our way. That's awesome. Thank you, Trish. Commissioner Walker.
Thank you.
Okay, so this took a half hour for me to get through at council. I'm gonna skip over a lot of it because you all actually have a better pulse on what the department does than not necessarily all members of council. So I just want to give you guys a bit of a overview and kind of give you a sense too of where we're going. So these are my goals. This is when I first took over a couple of years ago, this is sort of what I was hoping that I would get to do. So the first was align the department's work in public programming with the city's vision. Not that it was misaligned or unaligned before, but like do it very intentionally. Create predictable services in public programming. I think probably a lot of you have heard me say before that the department in the past, I mean, the amount of work they did and the amount of amazing programming they did was like mind-boggling, but it was a lot of one and done. And so what I found as I came in and started looking through the computers was I was like, why aren't we still doing that? Why aren't we still doing that? And also we're working on a marketing branding effort right now with a consultant. And we basically find that people in the community don't necessarily know what we do and what to expect from us. And so creating predictable services in public programming is one of the ways that we're hoping to create brand awareness. We wanted to update the department's vision, mission, and values, which we did through a lot of hard work last year. We wanted to build and strengthen relationships with our city departments and our community partners. So we especially internally have been doing a really good job here. Our relationships right now, Public Works and Airport, with parks, with library have just grown exponentially. And that basically what that does is that helps us build capacity as a department because it gives us access to other resources throughout the city infrastructure. So that's something we're still working hard on and is I think going really well. And then focusing on the department's long-term sustainability. So you all have heard me talk a little bit about our upcoming efforts to implement rep and fee-based programming, and that's going to be that's really aimed at this fifth goal, which is making sure that our department is sustainable in the long term and not 100% dependent on general fund property tax revenue. So some of the through lines of the presentation will be, we really always want to provide Boise residents opportunities to be involved and attend cultural events. We want to make sure that we have strong partnerships both in the city and in the community. We want to make sure that the work that we do and the programs that we offer are accessible to all parts of our community, regardless of ability to pay, regardless of disabilities, regardless of language, etc. And then we want to engage our residents. So those are the through lines you're going to hear about. So on the predictable, repeatable programming, some of the things that we've worked on over the last couple of years, some of these were already in place, right? The cultural ambassador, we're known pretty well for that. That's something that has been going pretty well over the last 10 years and still going strong. But this last year, we implemented the City Steps Tour program. We're going to be doing that again this coming summer. I'll update you about that in a few minutes. We started a professional development series called Level Up. That's a new name that all of our professional development is going to fall under. So we're going to be working on rolling more of that out. Of course, we have a very strong artist in residence program at the James Castle House. We started a new writer in residence program. We're in the second year of that, so we're excited about that. And then, of course, we have the annual grant program. We, of course, do maintain time in our schedules for initiative-based and opportunistic things that come up. So we'll keep that going. But the goal really is to become identified with programs that are repeated over and over. Not necessarily the content, right? The content will change, but to make sure that we are known for certain things and that the community can. Part of that has been this cultural program guide. So this is a new thing. It's of course based on what the library does and what the Parks and Recreation department does, and that's been just a nice visual for our residents to. I see people in the lobby all the time grabbing the library one, and then they'll grab ours, or they'll grab Parks and Rec and they'll grab ours. So it's just been a really nice visual for us to have, and the department, the staff has done a great job with it. For the public art program, we've had a really successful couple of years. And of course, as usual, I'm sort of going off the cuff here, and I want to make sure that I actually say what I want to say. So for every year as we approach a new fiscal year, particularly, we really aim to create public art opportunities that are both small for local emerging artists and large for that can be sort of really impactful. If you think about Gentle Breeze, the Pink Tree, that's one of those sort of really big impactful ones. But Mungo Mungo actually, I think is how you say his name. He was hired this past year to create medallions down in the sidewalk of the old Boise blocks. So that's one of those smaller ones, but it's going to be a really impactful. It already is impactful in the sense that they're there and they're noticeable and they're beautiful. They really reference back different populations that have lived on Grove Street over time. But that same medallion is going to be repeated on the interpretive signs that are going to be installed by May. And the Grove Street Story Walk will go all the way from 3rd Street down to 16th Street, which of course, Grove Street is now bisected by Grove Plaza. But Mungo's medallions will be part of that sign and tie that story walk together as we interpret the history of Grove Street over those 12 or so blocks. So public art really helps us to sort of create that identity in Boise. This is, we do a lot of that type. So traffic boxes remain a huge success. Probably don't need to tell you all that. We are currently at 199 traffic boxes right now. Woo woo. And this is definitely one of my favorites, even though it's from 2 years ago. I just love this one. So colorful and beautiful. And then I wanted to show you just kind of where we are. And actually, I'm going to move them up so I can see what there we go. Okay. So art installations between 2023 and 2025. I brought this to council because I wanted them to sort of see where we are with our capacity. And you can see in 2023, partly because we were coming out of COVID and partly because there was a lot of turnover in the department, we had lower numbers. But you can see that that last year in particular was a very strong year, and that this year, the things that are coming up are going to be equally voluminous. So I think too that the red bars for 2025 don't necessarily represent some of the things that have just come up that I referenced a few slides ago that are going to be happening. So the public art program is going well, and we're excited about the things that are coming forward. This is a photograph of Gracio Baraka, who was the photographer for the Afro Blue exhibit, and the work that he did in coordination with the Idaho Black Community Alliance to document their gala. Those photographs all came into Boise's what we call our portable works collection. So anything that like moves around throughout the different facilities, public facilities, is part of our portable works, and all of these photographs became part of that. So that's been equal too. And then I've already mentioned today our partnership with Public Works, but this is an installation that represented a lot of different things, and I'm pretty excited about what happened here. So when we hired Hannah Williamson with the Public Works Department, one of the things that she decided to do with the help of her manager, Stephanie, is to work with Boise State's studio art. So Lily Lee, who teaches at the School of the Arts at Boise State, brought our team in, and our team worked with the students to put together, to ask them to essentially put together proposals, and our team selected the winning artwork to be installed. So these are called art courts. This is on Grove Street at 14th, right in front of the Modern Hotel. This is the student artist who was selected. Her name is Serena. I'm going to have to look at the spelling because it's hard to say. In fact, Commissioner Ashley, do you remember how to say her last name? Zetkowski. And her artwork is called Reclaimed Majesty. And these art courts are awesome because they rotate. So they're temporary. And the art itself will be changed out every 2 years. So Hannah is actually executing on this again this coming spring, going back to Lily Lee's class and going to be installing another student artwork in the other art court, which is just down the street from this one. So altogether, the public art program, which of course is our longest program, it's been around for the longest and is, is the most That's all this, I don't know how else to put it. It's going incredibly well, and now that we have all this capacity, it's been awesome. So. Any questions
Yeah,
before I move on?
I'll just
Yeah.
say that that was such a great panel to be on, and I'm so glad to see that it's as gorgeous as the prompt was. But I think what was so great about it was there were times when we were kind of like the examples from the students didn't really match up with the scale of what they were proposing, and the instructor who was on the committee was able to say, you know, yes, I can see them being able to do this, or I'll walk with them along to do this. So it kind of helped give us all a little bit of reassurance that whoever we chose was going to have kind of the guiding support to actually fulfill this. Whereas, you know, in other instances, we only pick artists that we have proven that they can do it. But some folks don't always have examples of proving that they can do it, right? So this was a great joining forces. I felt like it was a great opportunity for the students, but gave us the confidence that it was going to, you know, turn out as we were hoping.
Melissa, can I pick up on that for a second? Because like I think that's like a really thought-provoking comment that you just made that I really appreciate. Like one of the things I've always loved about like the Garden City Placemaking Fund when it was going, it was that it had these incredible mentor programs to help people that were interested in doing mural work with actual muralists so they can do it. And sometimes like doing a traffic box doesn't allow you that same kind of opportunity to make the jump to something like this, right? And so that kind of mentorship is really important, like on that workforce development and on like nurturing local artists. So yeah, I hadn't thought about it before until you had just said that. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question of the commissioners?
Yes.
Okay, I'm curious from either Melissa or Amanda, those two commissioners, if there's anything, since you both were so familiar with how that whole process worked, if there's anything I can bring back to staff that you think might, that we might want to tweak this time around as we move into the next round of doing this. You don't, I mean, if you want to think about it, that's fine, but we'd love your input.
Yeah, let me
I
think
actually
about it.
don't know that much about it. I would like defer to Melissa, and I think also like checking with Lily about it may also have some, she may also have some ideas as well.
I think, you know, if I were on the selection panel again, I wouldn't have any thoughts or concerns. If it's going to be a whole new group of selection panelists, I think maybe just starting out at the beginning to show this example of success would be so helpful to say, we're all here in this capacity to help this student fulfill this public art request. Kind of no matter where their skills are starting, to lend confidence at the beginning of the process, because I think those were kind of questions that we sussed out as we were having the conversation. It wasn't necessarily presented that way. But by the end, we felt really confident that they were going to be helped and, you know, be given lots of opportunities and class time and all of that. So I think just putting that prompt out there at the beginning so everybody feels confidence right from the start would be perfect.
That's
Because
great.
look at it, it's amazing. I can't believe how amazing it is. And it looks exactly like what she proposed.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And being there the day that it was installed, like she was tickled pink. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was-
It's amazing.
And the art team is working already with Lily on changes to how they're gonna do it this spring, Commissioner Ashley. So that's underway already, since obviously class planning is already. You guys are almost on break and then you start right back up again. I know, so yeah.
I also like just wanted to reiterate how grateful I am for the way that you and your team and Stephanie and everyone have like thought about this as a possibility and as an initiative. And I think it's something that is really quite unique and really wonderful. So just wanted to express my gratitude.
Well, we're appreciative because I know that it's a lot of work on everybody's part, but it's all the investment in making sure that our artists have what they need to professionally grow. And I think that everybody's on the same page when it comes to that. So
Can I ask a question? Do we ever have, any of these calls have like a two-step process, especially if you're trying to bring in people with less professional experience, where
there's a concept proposal, and then someone might work with you to get it to a second round. I just like went through a grant application that looks like this from the Eagle Foundation, where you like submit a short sort of prospectus, and then but you don't have to do like a budget. You don't have to so if you're not familiar with the kind of mechanics of certain kinds of proposals or applications, someone could look at it and say, I think that there might be something here, even though this person doesn't know how to move it all the way across the finish line. And so I know that Emily had been doing kind of like, you can come and talk to me about your grants and then we can walk you through it, but maybe some kind of like a more formal version of that for some iteration of something where you really did want to bring in people who did not have a lot of professional experience, and you could really walk them through that process. I don't know if that would, no, I don't know if that would work, but I've seen it somewhere else, seen it elsewhere, so.
I
And I know we've done, maybe not
Like officially,
you know, officially, but with like Mungo, with that in like, you know, there were a lot of different proposals submitted, and I think we narrowed it down to 3, like just kind of throw things at us, and we narrowed it down to just a few to say, okay, there's something here, flush it out more. And then he was ultimately selected, and they worked with him even more.
don't they do, I mean, I think, I've never seen a two-step process like that other than what Chris just explained.
Right.
But what I have talked to Stephanie about is that you can go from call
Right,
for like qualifications, basically,
Right.
to a call for proposal.
Right.
And then it's that second step is an invitation.
yeah,
But I don't know that it's been for emerging artists, it's been
Right.
for more of that like experienced one.
right,
So that's an interesting concept. I'd love to look at the
yeah. I
the
think
one
that
that you
is-
referenced, yeah,
sure.
because I think one of the things that we're really working toward, you see this in if you're interested in looking at our strategic plan, is trying to work on professional development for artists so that we can get some of the emerging artists in a place where they can apply to bigger projects. But what we found is we did some of that professional development work this last year, which was really good. It was called Going Public. It was a 4-part thing or 5-part. Is that I think without the context of a specific call,
Yes,
that was
Mhm.
hard
Yeah.
to grasp, right?
yeah,
I'm getting a lot of nods from you guys, yeah. And so we're sort of trying to rethink how to do that professional development. So I'd love to talk more with you about
Sure.
like how we, because we're really struggling with how to do that, how to get our local talented artists to a place where they know how to actually make the thing happen. So that's great. Let's
Yeah.
follow up on that.
sounds good.
Thanks, everybody, for your feedback. So I'm not gonna say a ton about the two. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Do I have? Okay. Our goal at the 2 cultural sites, the Castle House and the Haven House, again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but is really to put together some predictable and regular programming at the 2 sites, in addition to doing the initiative-based and opportunistic things that come up that our community partners want to do. We're really looking at these 2 sites as an opportunity to broaden our audiences and to diversify programming. And so what I mean by that is we tend, this will not come as any big surprise to anybody in the room or on the call, to mostly have middle-aged, middle-class European descendants at our programs, at our exhibitions, etc. And as we really try again to align with the department's work with the city's mission to be a city for everyone, we're trying to figure out how to embrace more of the community and make places like our cultural sites places where other people and other communities feel welcome and want to come. And so we are looking at, this last year, we had what was it, Family Museum Day at the Castle House. We're going to be doing that again as a way to bring multiple generations together. There's a major mental health crisis among our youth right now, as I'm sure our new youth commissioner knows, as well as many of you who are parents or just living in this community know that that's a problem. So it's demonstrated through research that connection between generations is one way to get youth connected and feel connected. And so we're hoping that doing some more youth programming and intergenerational programming at our sites can do some of that. In addition to that, in addition to hosting those sorts of events and of course our usual art exhibitions and history exhibitions, we're also, we hosted some cool stuff this last year. That was Family Museum Day. But at the Heyman House, I'm moving forward here, we also hosted Story Nights, an event by Story Nights. So this was an event that we had at the Heyman House through our cultural ambassador. That was a different kind of event, right? This was something that really drew a great number of people in. This was Story Porch Night. This was focused on stories told by African Americans community. I forget, I don't know if anybody on the call, Chris and I were both there, and I'm trying to remember, right? It was so incredible, but there was like a particular theme of the evening. I'm totally forgetting what it was. Do you remember? Anyway,
I think, every one of them had like,
is it about being an American or something?
yes.
Well, it says on the slide, the American dream.
There you go. It says it on the slide. The American so it was very powerful, and we're hoping that and our team is really engaging with the community to get more of these kinds of events there. So as again to draw people in and make it, museums can be really intimidating. And so we want to make sure that we're doing programming that invites different segments and then don't necessarily go to museum sites. I did want
Hey, bring that theme back for America 250.
That's a great idea. Yeah, we're definitely engaging a lot of our community partners. So it's a great idea. I wanted to point out that we are really hoping to boost membership, not membership, visitorship at our 2 cultural sites this next year. We have an incredibly devoted following at both places. But we really want to broaden that. And we are looking for ideas, help, ambassadorship, all the things to get more people to come to our facilities and engage with them. And it is going up a little bit each year, which is great, but we really need to be making a splash here and making pretty big leaps here. And this is a common problem across museums across the entire country. I know that Commissioner Miller has worked at sites like this, and visitorship is always a big, how do we get more people to come? And this is definitely something we're working on. Both the sites are pretty much brand new. And so we're still, while Castle House is way more established, we're still really looking for identity at both places so that people know what to expect and why they should come.
Can I say something?
Please do.
My age group doesn't really hear about a lot of the stuff that goes around in Boise. Like, we get flyers at school, but nobody ever really looks at those. It's more you would need to say something to the people that make something that interests them in what it is, so they can tell their parents.
And I always bring this, I feel like I bring it up quite a bit, is our jobs as commissioners. We all are in very diverse communities. And that's part of our job, is to promote that out in our communities. With HP, I always have a cultural guide. I just sat a guy down that just moved here in July. That was an intern last year and now he lives here, and he was asking me all of these questions, and I was like, okay, this weekend, at the back, there's like a Krampus, art exhibit, you go to that, and Ali Rep is starting a Boise Contemporary Theater because his fiance is very into theater and wants to do lighting. And so you start those little ripples. And, I have people now that come and say, what's going on this weekend? Like, what do I need to do? So it's a really cool part of being a commissioner is you can be that driving force of here's everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So,
And I will let you know too, Cameron, that our existing staff member, Mackenzie Dunstan, who you met yesterday, she's actually been working really hard at creating an education advisory committee, working with the schools so that there is an actual voice in the K through, not K so much, more like 9 through 12, to make sure that the students are actually hearing what's going on. Yeah, because you're right, flyers didn't work when I was, I don't think they work any better now, so.
I have a thought I'd like to share as well. Because we've tried to organize a couple of like little like gatherings where we would go and visit the Irma Heyman House or the Castle House with the students that I work with. And it's tough with some of our events because we struggle to get students to sign up for a lot of them first off. But unfortunately with that one, like in the past, we haven't had students sign up, so we didn't follow through. But another angle to that is a lot of students where like maybe they've tried to not, and when I say a lot, I mean like I've talked to maybe 4 of our students who have tried to visit, and parking is kind of a deterrent for them. I think that's less the case with the Castle House and more with the Irma Heyman. And I'm curious, I know this is a huge topic and yeah, there's a lot of layers, but will there ever be an opportunity maybe to like seek some parking specific to the Irma Heyman House nearby or anything like that? Or is that something that just isn't something that can be explored?
So very timely question. I actually am in conversations right now with the owners of the parking lot, like literally as we speak.
Oh, great.
I know it doesn't mean that anything necessarily is going to come of that, but I actually am literally in the middle of conversations with the Formachia family that owns all of those buildings and the parking lot. So I have hopes that we're going to be able to make some progress there because it's a total deterrent. It's impossible, even for staff. It's a deterrent. Like it, and right now we're all, I don't know about you all, but I park across the street and hope I don't get a ticket. But it's always empty. And so it's like we need to just contact the owner and say it's always empty, can there be something? So I will definitely keep you guys updated.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's exciting. And fingers crossed, hopefully that's a good outcome. I also just wanted to add, I can definitely talk with my team about, because we do a number of like some professional networking events and we'll often hold them at our office space. And there's probably a lot of opportunity where maybe we could do that at one of these houses to get more kind of student involvement and then also just within the community. So yeah, I'll be in touch with more of those kind of ideas.
That would be great, Gabby. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
They did an art crawl. It was probably in 2018 and it was led by Jody.
Mhm.
And we
Jody Ochoa or Jody?
Eichelberg.
Okay.
And we met at the botanical garden and it was like a party bus. It was so much fun. And then we went kind of toward the botanical garden. We went to Mink Studios.
Oh my gosh.
We and they had food at each site from local restaurants.
Mhm.
It was so
How
much
much did
fun.
it cost? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know, probably 40, 50.
Okay.
But it was a blast and I would I would sign up in a heartbeat for one of those. The bus was full.
I would also attend, and if we do it for America 250, everybody could come dressed as their favorite founding father.
Or founding mother.
Yeah.
Dolly Madison was a hottie. Sorry, just kidding. My bad. Okay, let's see, I was gonna move on to, if you haven't had the chance, I'll say one final thing. If you have not had the chance yet to go to the Irma Hayman House and view the Voices of River Street exhibition, it is really worth your time. Trish, are you still on? Did we lose Trish? We
Nope,
lost
I'm
her.
still on.
You're still there. Awesome. So the team that put this exhibit together is working with Commissioner Walker to possibly, if I'm not mistaken, Commissioner Walker, to do a smaller version of this exhibit at the Speakeasy event in Black History Month that's happening on February 8th.
Yeah.
Do I have that date, Trish? Okay, yeah, February 8th. The exhibition I think is really excellent. We had it peer reviewed by Professor Jill Gill at Boise State before we put it up. And it's just really excellent. There's some interactive mapping that you see a screenshot of here. You can look at the difference in census records between 1940 and 1950 and look at how the neighborhood changed. So if you haven't had a chance to go there and look at that, please do so. We would love to welcome you and give you a tour. And I just wanted to give you a brief update on our archives, because this is something you're going to be hearing about a lot. Well, you're not necessarily going to be hearing about a lot over the next year, but it's going to be taking a lot of staff time. So in the budget last year, we were actually for the budget that we're in right now. So our budget is end of September to end of September. And October 1. So we received money from the city council to consolidate the city record center with the Boise City Archives. So our archivist on the screen here, Danielle Grandel, is working really hard right now with the city clerk's office to facilitate that move. So there's not just a physical move involved in this, but there's also hundreds of thousands of pages of records that have to be cataloged properly. In terms of like some stuff is going to be transferred from the city records system to the archival system. The goal being eventually to have a public space that people can come and do research in city records, which is not something the city has had for a very long time. And so this is taking up a lot of, this is really Danielle's primary goal this year, is to get this accomplished. We're going to be moving into the record center on Overland, and we're making some upgrades to the space itself so that for both security reasons, but also so that there's actually a public space for the public to come and do research. So there'll be computers, there will be tables for researchers to come and look at city records. And what that's going to do is it's going to help with transparency, number one, right? We want our residents to know that they can come look at city records. Number two, it's going to, we hope, help cut down on some of the public records requests. It's a little in the weeds for things you guys probably don't care too much about. But then also number three, it's going to help with the number of research requests that our department gets, so that we can guide residents who come to us and want to know XYZ about Boise history to go actually use our archives at the records themselves. So that's a huge initiative that's being worked on full-time by Danielle right now. It's a big deal. I wanted to point out too that over the last couple of years, one of the things that I really wanted to do on the partnership thing with the library is to make sure that our exhibits that our history team puts on, that are usually always just been here on the third floor, actually get some more eyes on them. So Caitlin Hocklander, our history assistant, has been instrumental in making sure that these exhibitions get out to our libraries. So we've been working really closely with libraries and rotating the exhibitions through the libraries. What we're hoping to do over the next year or so is to actually do some programming alongside that. So it's not just a static exhibit that sits there and we hope people put eyes on it, but to actually put some programming alongside of it so that we can activate that and get people asking questions and understanding a little bit more about this place. So I'm excited about that. I just wanted to show you through a slide, through a chart, what the engagement opportunities are that we have in the department and the different ways that people can engage. You can see that 2024 offered a lot. I know it's kind of a busy slide. I'll move the people out of the way again and move them over here. But you can see that the number of opportunities that we had in 2024 exceeded the opportunities we've had the previous year. And again, in part, that's because we're sort of getting our legs under us as a team. So that's good. But we also have been very intentional with how we're doing this. So we're excited about these numbers and feel really good about them. Feel like we're making a lot of impact on the community. One thing that I think is important that we're trying to sort of figure out, we don't have an answer to this yet, but while we're offering a lot more opportunities, there's also still a lot more demand that we can't meet. In particular, you can see that the grant applicants this year way outpaced the amount of money that we as a city had to offer. So we're kind of trying to figure out, and that's true for the artist in residency. We have what these numbers tell me is that these teams are doing a great job of getting word out about these opportunities that we have, but the demand is so high that we can't accommodate. So we're sort of looking at that and tracking those numbers to see how we can begin to accommodate some of that in other ways. AHAT's going to be one of those ways, right? It's not the same as an artist in residency, but it is an opportunity. It will be an additional opportunity for involvement by our residents, and a way to feel connected in a civic way that makes a difference in kind of our day-to-day lives here in the city. We already talked about that. I just want to say a couple things that are not necessarily wins, but are important to recognize. So we did have to deaccession some things over the last few years. We had to deaccession this mural, which had a lot of maintenance problems, and was challenging because it's in Councilwoman Corliss's district, and she really was hoping for something to replace it, which of course we're always looking for opportunities for art. So we do hope that we'll be able to do something in her district soon. We also will be deaccessioning some art in the near future at the airport as they undergo some changes there. So that's going to be coming down the pipe as well. So it's just that's not necessarily a win, but it's part of the art world. Art doesn't stay forever. People seem that they want to think that art pieces are permanent, but they're not. We also did make a decision to permanently put to bed the Fettuccine Forum series. The numbers of that we were getting for that just were not justifying the expense or the resource of humans that we were putting into it. And I think that it outlived its life, or it had lived its useful life. It went on for 20 years, super successful for a long time. So we're hoping that the city historian who comes next year can sort of help us reimagine how to engage the public with some other sort of lecture series, panel series. We don't know. We'll see what it's about. Like I said before, we're doing some work to reach out to students, and maybe Cameron can help us with that. We hope so, certainly. And just diversify some of our audiences. This was a fun day that I thought I'd end the slideshow on. The Irma Hayman House assistant, Callie Sunderland. It's like Sunderland, no, Sunderland. Actually took some of the Irma Hayman House stories out to the future public school and did some really cool drawing with them, where they did self-portraits, and it was just a really engaging thing that she did. So it's a joyful set of pictures, and I thought I'd end with that. That's just a little bit of a review of where we've been the last couple of years and where we're going in the next year. And I'll stop there and see if there's any additional questions. I appreciate everybody's feedback so much and attention. That was longer than it was intended to be, but it's because it was a good conversation. So
Yeah, thank you so much. You guys have been busy.
These are great updates. I mean, sad with the mural, but yeah, really great updates.
thank you, Gabby.
Well, there being no further business before the commission, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Commissioner Miller moves to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I can second. Amanda also raised her hand.
Did it together,
All right.
Gabby. It was amazing.
It's like you can't hear anyone. All right, Commissioner Ashley seconds the motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor?
I
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes and we are adjourned.